All right, we're live, and I see that in the chats we're joined by Paul Pate. How's it going, Paul? Speaking of Paul Pate, before I do my shout outs and stuff, with my limited time, I'm a guy who I'm an art director, and then I also that's what I do full time. Then I have like a 2 hour commute, so it's like 1 hour one way, 1 hour the other. And so I have like literally no time outside of just doing comics and hanging out with my kid. And just on the note of Paul, who was basically saying, tap, 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 is this thing on? I'm reading your book, Paul. It's really good. It's Detective Perez, Welcome to Rust City, and I'm really enjoying it. I got the second one as well, but this one, this is how much reading time I get. The only reason I was bringing that up, I'm on like page 35. So, but I will highly recommend this. And if the second one's any bit as good as this, I'm hoping there's nothing that like crazy that happens toward the end. I'm kidding, but no, it's so good. I'm really enjoying the book. So, Paul, anyhow, thank you for the recommendation. I've really been digging your comics, and also, dude, you are a killer cartoonist. I mean, I'm just like stunned by the interiors and stuff. So anyhow, since Paul was in the chats, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And then Paul also, I know it's like crazy hours for you, but if you wanted to hop on stream, feel free. As I said, though, it's probably going to take me like half a year to read the whole thing, but I'm on page 35 and I'm really enjoying it, and enough to recommend it to other people. Also, it's a steal. Like it's at a really affordable price. Okay, so that's anyhow, just shouting out to Paul who's in the chat. So anyhow, who am I? I'm Joshua Kemble. I've been a professional artist for over 15 years. And when I'm not doing art professionally or hanging out with my kid or being a husband or like doing day-to-day stuff that we all have to do, like if you have a creative career, your time is even less available half the time. But when I'm not, when I have those windows of time, I'm usually working on graphic novels like Jacob's Apartment, which is my comic book about Jacob, who is a Christian, who's like a non-drinker, and he's sort of roommates with this character Sarah, who's an atheist, and they have basically like polar opposite ideas about life, but both of them are going through struggles. Jacob's dealing with his father's dying of cancer and starting to lose his faith. And Sarah is kind of questioning her identity as well because of a recent breakup of a relationship. And so she's trying to kind of seek fulfillment in one night stands. And both of them are kind of lost and seeking meaning, and end up kind of crossing paths in a doomed romance story that's kind of in the vein of like Ghost World and like the Royal Tenenbaums, like very slice of life, Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind, like very slice of life story that has some kind of cool dream sequences where their dreams start kind of interweaving with their lives. So as they connect, their dreams start having overlapping things happen. And I'm really proud of this, and it's coming out from Graphic Mundi in June. So I recommend you guys make sure you pre-order that from Graphic Mundi, or go to your local bookstore and just say, hey, I want you guys to support indie comics. Order Jacob's Apartment, carry it in your store. It's available through Diamond Distribution, so it should be available pretty much anywhere you ask. So I always recommend start with like your local comic shop, and then go to like your big box chain, Barnes and Noble or wherever, but just ask that they carry this book. So yeah, so that's one book. And then the other book that I do that came out last year is 2 stories. And this is my comic book about faith and mental illness that's handwritten, hand-lettered, and hand-inked. And it talks about my journey dealing with depression, as well as my childhood kind of growing up as a geek and being obsessed with things like Back to the Future. Here's a good example where I was so obsessed with Back to the Future that I actually got all of the Universal Studios Back to the Future costume stuff, which, by the way, it's funny. I had a coworker very recently come to work in Halloween wearing this color changing hat. And I was like, where did you get that? And I guess Universal is now carrying them again, which is crazy because when I made this comic, it was just like a vivid memory. But anyhow, yeah, and then it kind of talks about caregiving for somebody with panic disorder. So such things like that. And this is available on Amazon through the link in the notes. And I recommend people get it through there. If you have Prime, it's free shipping, which is cool. And it's usually at a reduced rate. But you can also request this from any indie-friendly shop. So this won't be available at your big box chains. But any indie-friendly shop should be able to order this from Ingram. So, but it's released by Marcosia Enterprises. And I'm very proud of it. And it's definitely something I believe in enough to invest even more years. It took 5 years to make, and I'm going to invest a couple more years into making the sequel. So that's what I'm going to be working on tonight is page 26, I think, is what I'm inking now. So I'm going to try to ink this panel and see how far that goes and kind of live stream while I do it. And on these live streams, I just kind of work on art, talk about whatever. And if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to have them put them in the chats. Paul said, "I'm about to fall out." Yeah, I think for Paul, we're always at like a crossroads on like time frames and stuff like that. So that makes perfect sense. But I still always want to make sure that my friends are always welcome to kind of join in on the chats or in the physical stream. But I also get it. It's like, I think it's like 1 or 2 in the morning for him. So obviously, go get some rest. But thanks for stopping by to say hi. And I'm going to have some coffee out of this lovely mug created by Jim Lujan. It's the Swizzle Stick Army. And then I'm going to get working and just kind of talk. So today was an interesting day. I'm gonna work on this panel here. This is a really weird panel sequence that I'm working on where it's like I'm literally drawing my memories of my father's last moments alive, and so it's a little weird to kind of draw. And I've had people actually, friends of mine and stuff be like, isn't that really hard to kind of draw like such a vivid memory? A lot of people go through an experience like that, and it's like it's not something they're going to like depict graphically, right? It might be something people like have stuck in their heads that they don't want to think about. And for me, that's really important because I write autobiographical stuff. This was a very impactful point in my life. And I think this might have been the point where I had kind of completely lost my faith. And this story actually has to do with sort of how I gained my faith. And so that's a little bit important to kind of talk about, like some of the sort of factors that contributed to me both like having depression and also sort of losing my faith to begin with. And so it's kind of an important story point. Like if I'm telling my biography for the themes of the story, because the story, the main themes are like sort of trying to demystify discussions about mental illness and about depression and even about loss, right? Like I feel like we actually live in a society where people don't very often openly talk about sort of the loss or their struggles with like losing loved ones and things like that. And I feel like if you're going to do autobiographical comics, and this might just be my take on it, but I kind of feel like in order for it to be worth anything, you kind of have to lean into vulnerability. I shouldn't say worth anything, right? But I think even if you were writing a humor strip or a comic strip, basically that has to do with your life, you have to kind of open yourself up to being vulnerable. And some of that's going to like tread into, especially in autobio, like some pretty difficult emotional areas. So anyhow, what's weird is I can kind of have a conversation and not be like massively emotionally impacted when I'm drawing a scene that's like very loaded and very emotional. And so like one of the reasons is I already thumbnailed out the scene, and I think at the thumbnail stage, there's a lot more kind of thought involved, as well as the penciling stage. But to me, once you get to the inking stage, that's kind of the fun part, where it's like I could be drawing anything and it would be fun. At this point, like this point in the process, it's kind of like it's more the intuitive artist part. And so that's where I'm like able to have kind of a separation between like my own life and the story. Another thing is like, and I don't know if this is specific. Frank said, "Don't fall, Paul." Frank, how's it going, buddy? Frank Salazar, constant guest on the live stream and the moderator for my channel too. Frank, if you want to hop on, feel free. I'll send you a link. But if you don't, no worries too. Because again, I understand if like maybe you have work or something and need to crash. Just let me know and I'll send you a link. But yeah, so it's been interesting because that's definitely been something that's been asked of me before, where it's like I've been complimented for being really candid and kind of if you guys have read Two Stories, it like deals with some really difficult subject matter that a lot of people would shy away from talking about in public, much less like documenting and making like a book about, right? And so some people have asked like how I managed to kind of do it and not get like totally messed up, like sort of reliving hard experiences or something. And what's weird is, to me, this is the weird part where it's almost going to sound like art as therapy. But I do think when you're an artist and you're, at least for me, I'm an artist. And so my main vocabulary, Frank said he wants to hop on. So let me send him a link. Hang on, Frank. All right, Frank, link sent. He said he's just doing some cleanup on his pages, so hopefully that'll be fun. That'll be fun to have somebody keep me company while I'm working. So yeah, like I people have been curious, like kind of how I can. Even my wife was kind of like, "How do you draw like these pages?" Because obviously, like I know for you guys, you're watching a stream and stuff, and so it's like maybe it doesn't hit home as much as like somebody who personally knows me, where they're like, "Oh wow, you're actually drawing, like your father's death." And it's like, and it's a weird thing because that was something that for years was like a real hard thing for me to deal with. And I think like the age I'm at, like that becomes more and more common of a story. So it's like, I know I'm not alone on kind of having gone through something like that. But it is one of those weird things of like, I don't know if it's, I think it has to do with the fact that like my way of processing and thinking is visual. And so for me, and this might be something that drives me to do autobio too, but for me, by documenting hard things that happened, it kind of, it almost like gives them more meaning and purpose, and also helps me to process and think about those experiences too, as corny as that is. So to an extent, it is kind of somewhat therapeutic to sort of work through very difficult things. The other thing is it's really challenging to me as a writer to write about very emotionally charged situations and try to do it like objectively. It's like a weird challenge, but it's something I tend to like to do. So yeah, so hopefully I haven't weirded out anyone watching this, but that's like sort of how I'm able to sort of talk about those kind of things. And Frank, are you good to come on? All right, cool. I got the thumbs up. Yeah, so interesting thing, but I definitely think it's one of those things that drives people to do things like storytelling and writing and stuff. How you doing, Frank?
Doing good. I finished all the pages today, all the technical stuff, the credits, adding a little paragraph and bios and all that. Um, and I went over to make sure there's not stuff I didn't miss, and I missed a few things. So I just doing a lot of cleanup. But,
Awesome,
I'm just
awesome.
cleaning up one page. It's the double page spread. It's the only one in the book, but I had to cut it, and but there's like a piece of a word bubble sticking out in one, so I'm not sure if it's gonna get fixed in in the publishing. So I'm moving the bubble. Everything's already merged, so I have to like do it by hand and just
Oh
moving the word
no.
bubble just a little bit. Um, and then so just doing
Got it.
some
So the word
recoloring.
bubble was kind of going outside of the safe area, or
Yeah. Um,
yeah, that happens. And it's funny, you'll get better at that not happening like the more you do it, you know? Or you'll just be like, okay, I gotta make sure I'm staying in my safe areas, you know? But yeah,
yeah.
I've
Some
definitely
stuff
been there.
might get cut, but as long as it's not the speech bubble, I think the word bubble might be like right on the spine. But since it's a floppy, it's a 30-page floppy, so I don't think it'll be that bad as like a binded book. So
Okay.
uh,
Well, I'm
we'll
excited.
see. Hopefully it doesn't take too
Speaking
long.
speaking of, I think once I'm done doing I'm gonna finish doing these lines. Like right now, I'm just doing like the contour
Mm-hmm.
lines, and then after that, I will have like a very good pausing moment to where maybe I can open up that package that I received from you,
Oh,
Frank,
uh,
which I'm kind of excited about, and it would be fun to do on stream. So
yeah, that'll be cool.
I'm gonna set this, and I'm gonna tease this for people who are watching. Like, what mystical thing is in this amazing package that has a Tarako uh, stamp on it? So
Is
yeah,
that the drawn on stamp?
yes.
Okay, I had stickers made, but I ran out
Oh, okay.
because I've been using so many, and I was like,
Hey, that's a good
okay,
problem to
so
have.
I'll just draw it. So yeah.
Well, now I feel less special. I thought I was all special for it being drawn on. Now I
Well,
feel
it
less
is.
special, Frank. I'm just
Uh,
kidding. I think it
I
is way
took
more special.
extra, yeah, I took extra effort.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think it's really cool. I'm excited to kind of open that, but I'm gonna let that dangle out there while I'm finishing up the contours here. So yeah, so that's I guess that was kind of the gist of like how I managed to draw these kind of things, you know. Have
Okay.
you ever had that kind of question, Frank, where people are like, "How can you write about this thing?" or something like that? And you're like, "I don't know." I kind of, or how do you talk about this thing? You're like, "I don't know," or maybe that's unique.
I think for me it's because like most of my stuff isn't that like dealing with a lot of that stuff, but
Yeah.
some stuff is like some stuff that I've started writing is so I actually get like the opposite like oh you shouldn't talk about it too much. It's like I want to talk about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I definitely have gotten that feedback. Um, But I find it interesting because I think artists kind of understand it, but I don't know. I think some people would have trouble kind of understanding like why somebody would want to make art about like a traumatic event or something, you know?
Yeah, because in the Captain Courage comic that I did, and I want to get back to it. That's one that I want to finish the conclusion of that one. But in one of the pages, there is a tribute to my mother, and in the continuing story, I'll add a little bit more, and it's gonna be a pretty touchy subject, but it's something I think I need to do. Like I don't want to shy away from. So it's just kind of battling to because it's like a superhero comic, and then like I don't want it getting dark, uh, unnecessarily dark.
Yeah, I mean that makes perfect sense. Like for instance, you know, I'm doing this sequence that deals with like my dad's death and stuff, right?
Yeah,
That'd be a little weird if this was like an adventure comic and it's all fun and then out of nowhere it's like, by the way, like that
yeah,
might be a little out of place. Whereas I feel like and that's another thing I was kind of saying too, where it's like I think when you're writing stories, whether they're autobiographical or like fictional, the story kind of lets you know what's needed for like the
yeah,
plot, you know? And it's like this is where I like would almost like warn people like if they get into doing autobio stuff and they're telling stories, like some people just do like diary comics, you know, where it's like this happened today and this happened today, you know.
yeah,
But I think when you start getting into like long form stories from your life, like sometimes like things that are uncomfortable to write about will become almost like essential for the story to work, you know.
yeah,
um and so it's like a weird, to me I think that might be the appeal, although I am looking forward to the next project that I have coming up where it's not so autobiographical, but I think that's part of the appeal and challenge of writing autobio stuff is like how do you manage to write memories that are in your head that you're necessarily subjective about, right? Because
yeah.
they're your own experiences. And then how do you try to kind of treat them objectively, you know? It's an interesting exercise, you know.
Mhm. Oh yeah. There's
But I can understand like I think it would be a little it'd be a little strange if I were reading something like Captain Courage and then there's like two stories chapters in there, you know. I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah, like I just didn't want to give away, but anyone that knows me
Yeah.
probably could already guess that my mom passed away, so she
Yeah.
never got to see any of my comics.
Yeah.
So she is drawn in there as a patient that Captain Courage goes to visit. And there's like a little story there. Like I also paid like a little bit of tribute to my grandfather who passed away years. Her father. Uh,
That's awesome.
uh, so I do want to do like in the next like chapter of that where she does pass away, but you're not gonna see it. It's gonna be like he was off doing something else and he goes back to visit because he gets a call from her son. In this version, like I am not Captain Courage. Captain Courage is someone else. But so
Yeah.
uh, so it's gonna be touched on, but you're not gonna see like the passing.
Got it. And so for like people who know you, they'll be like, "Oh, okay." And they'll know like
Yeah,
kind of the deeper, but for people who just casually reading, they'll be like, you know, still able to kind of be in the story, right?
yeah. They
Yeah.
might be like, "Why is there a sad scene here?" All of a sudden, I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, but I guarantee there's probably a lot of that in like, you know, stories of like Peter Parker or like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I feel like when people are writing anything, they're putting a lot of themselves in it. Um,
oh yeah,
because it's like you kind of have to do that, I think, as an artist. Like, even if you're writing like, you know, like a Disney cartoon or something, it's like I'm sure there's a lot of people who've like snuck in some really big moving things about their own lives, like into you know, a lot of things. Yeah. Let's see here. But I think that's kind of sweet that you did that call out in there. Wait a second, I've already started cross hatching here. And I kind of made a promise at the top that, like, before I get into this. Okay. Okay, hang on. Let me at least wrap this one hatch mark, and then we're going to open it up. All right. So I'm going to put this on pause because I got a very cool gift here, and I don't want to smudge it up with like a bunch of ink either. So if I pick up the comic now, it'll be like that. It'll look like that. Okay. I think my hands are clean enough. All right. So grab a good old X-Acto knife.
I'm gonna break the seal.
Yeah, because I don't want to mess up that awesomeness. So for anybody tuning in, like, Frank sent me a package, a secret package in the mail. And I told him I'd open it on stream. I had kind of forgotten to do it last stream. And when Frank was talking about it, I was like, dude, we gotta open this up. He was talking about his next comic, and I'm like, I still have not opened the package. Okay. So I have in here from Frank Salazar, The Resistance Factor, art and story by Frank Salazar. I am extremely excited about this, like extremely so, because there's a lot of cameos in here of art casters. So I have seen the digital version.
Oh, that's a one-panel comic strip a la Far Side.
I like it. Where is she? We were supposed to discuss the mission an hour ago. Ha ha ha. She's in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's dedicated to the art casters, which is really cool. And that's a neat graphic too. So then we have the Captain Goggles comic, which I will read in full. I don't want to spoil. If you guys want to read it, you guys should go to Frank's thing. And there I am. I believe this is me.
Yes.
In there as a character.
And there's another cameo in the little picture. I think it's the second row.
You see that? Dr. Kemble.
Yeah.
Second row?
Second row, second panel.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Yes.
Might be too small, but it's the kayaking bear.
Yeah. It's let me get in there. You guys can probably see that. Can you see that? It's sad because I can see it, but it's not going to come across well. There is a kayaking bear, ladies and gentlemen, which is a direct call out to the live stream, which is really cool. Yeah, and then we've got Jim Lujan, we've got Jeff Lafferty, we got Gibran, we got Ronnie, we got Jason, right? Like all of these.
Yeah.
A lot of people in our crew, you know.
And that's Scott as the doctor with.
Yeah. That's great. And Scott is wearing a lab coat, which is appropriate. And we have Corey Kerr. Good night, Ben. I love you, dude. Sleep well.
Right. Night,
love
Ben.
you, buddy. Frank said good night too. All right. And then look at that. Corey Kerr in the Resistance. So I'm excited to read this more thoroughly, but thank you, Frank. That's really cool. It's fun to cameo in a mini comic. That's awesome. And also, I like
Gary
that
is
it's
also
big.
in there in one of the panels.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, if you guys look at the computers, correct? He's like on the computer.
Yeah, he's they're passing by a hallway and he's on the computer.
Which is rad. So Gary said he might stop by on Facebook
Cool.
Messenger, but I don't know. I'll let him stop in if he wants. Oh, and then we got and then Scott might be stopping in too. So we shall see.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be a little adventure of whoever stops by, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, anyhow, thank you, Frank, for sending that. That kind of makes my night. So
no problem.
And then Frank, if people were like watching this live stream after the fact, where could they go pick up a copy of that? Is that available yet for the general public? Or is that an exclusive right now?
I should make it an exclusive, but it will be available on my Etsy. I just ran out of ink, but I have more ink now, so I'll be making more copies soon. So it'll be available on my Etsy store, Salazar de Chic Comics. But you can get the digital on my Gumroad.
I love it.
So I dropped a link in the chats before I came on, but that takes you to all the Truckle stuff, the Truckle merch stores. So
I like it. And Frank is able to post links in the chats because Frank is the moderator supreme of this channel. So I just thought I'd mention that. Yeah, dude, I am. It's been an interesting day, Frank. We had a crazy challenge at my work, like just sort of like one of those impossible to get done kind of challenges you get as like an art team or whatever. And then everybody on my team actually managed to get it done. And it was one of those things where it was like down to the wire, and we didn't have to do 1 minute of overtime. So I had this like brief moment of exhilaration and then complete exhaustion after work. I feel like the fun part about like working on an art crew with like a team, like under deadlines and stuff, is like you have these like moments where it's like the team just overcomes all these obstacles, and it's very exhilarating and fun.
Yeah.
The downside is it's like really mentally exhausting and taxing, you know. I don't know. I guess the best explanation would be like if I were like, you need to make your Captain Goggles comic by 5 o'clock, it's 8:30.
Oh wow.
Like that's kind of the feeling where you're like, okay, we'll do that, and then you kind of finish and you're like, oh my gosh, my brain.
That's pretty much what I did today. Like I want to finish this up before the day is over.
Nice.
Okay. And then this thing was pointed out to me. Like, okay, I can fix this. Everything else is done. So.
Jim was saying, I gotta know, is the Artcasters meetup going to appear in Two Stories Book 2 or Book 3? I don't know if there's going to be a Book 3 for Two Stories, but here's the thing: you got to be weary of autobio cartoonists because anyone might appear at any time. Yeah. I don't know.
Book 3 is going to be how the Artcasters was formed.
I will say this. Those meetups have been really cool. I can't like underplay like how awesome those meetups have been. Like they've been really rad. It's hard to even like quantify. Like I don't know, like how refreshing and exhilarating it is to like meet other creators who are like in the trenches and like meet them as human beings. You know, I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like,
oh yeah, it totally makes sense.
I think especially after the pandemic, where, well, not that it's really after, but you know what I mean? Like after all the lockdowns and stuff, it's nice to like actually see people in person. But then like when it's really good people, and I don't know, it's just like a unique breed of people.
Yeah. And if anyone watching that isn't subscribed to the Scott's newsletter, he did post some pictures in there today.
Oh, did he from the meetup?
Yeah. Yeah. Some, and they look fun. There was a picture of Jim walking in the hallway while the comics covers.
Yeah, that was awesome. We wound up going to. It's funny too because Corey's cousin was meeting us as well, and it's like when we all went to when Jim and Corey and like our families and stuff when we went to Cambria, we spent like a good chunk of time just going in antique shops and looking at weird stuff in the antique stores because it's kind of fun to do. Like,
yeah.
But anyhow, so then we were like out having dinner, and we were mentioning antique stores, and like I think Corey's cousin was like, "Yeah, like my wife, like that's all she'll do when she's out is like antique and stuff." It sounds like I'm trashing the guy. I'm not. He's a rad dude. But it's funny because I think he's more of like a guy, and it's like we were all kind of like, oh no, we're like actually gonna go. Like we'll probably go to another antique shop if there's one near here. Because they're just weird, amazing stuff. Like we went in this weird antique store, and in the back of it, it had like, those like display glass things that are like a little dome that something's under. Like usually it'll be like a little, sculpture or something like that, but it's like under a little glass dome. So there's a glass dome that has a human finger, just a human finger. And then there was another glass dome right next to it that had an eyeball, a human eyeball. And I was like, what the heck is this? Like, what? This is the weird thing about, I'm not saying that's even good. It's just weird and fascinating. And like, what other places would you find that kind of strange thing than like in the back of like a weird, creepy antique store? And then it just makes you think of like stories and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, that was very disturbing. But also, like, you end up finding seeing all these crazy vintage comics and like, yeah, it was a really weird thing. But the finger and eyeball thing, that was a first. I've never experienced that at an antique store.
Oh, cool. Did Scott buy that for the underground layer?
No, I don't think any of us wanted to. On the off chance that it was actually real, like I don't think any of us would want to support that kind of thing.
It's like, I got a new prop.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, like it was. There's just weird, fascinating stuff in that store, and it just went back further and further. It was a cool, interesting experience, like checking those things out. Plus, you just see weird stuff, like just the strangest like pop culture stuff that like just, or like records that are just like strange musicians that you'd never heard of, but like they have these crazy album covers and like strange varieties of books and all sorts of stuff. So needless to say, I'm kind of a fan of like weird antique stores. I think they can be fun. But yeah, it's also fun to go with a crew of artists that are like interested in kind of checking out weird stuff, So,
yeah.
And also just tons of great conversations and yeah. So, but that wall of that photo that you saw, that's from the meetup. Would it appear in book 3 though? That's the interesting thing. I don't know. Would it fit with the plot, Because there's a lot of editing. This is me taking like a silly question literally. This is like my MO. That's what I do. But yeah, I think that's another challenge with writing autobio stuff is like you kind of have to like edit out like a lot of things that are like very valuable, cool stories, right?
Yeah.
You know, it'd be kind of like equivalent to if if you had like an hour to tell like a story from your life or something. Ah, here's Gary. We got the Gary.
Gary.
Welcome, Gary Hodges.
Thank you for having me.
It's not a problem. I'll send your check later today for your.
That's
appearance.
right. So you agreed on the fee?
Yeah, of course.
My lawyers confirmed it. So.
Frank, how are you doing?
Doing good. Doing good. Josh just did the enveloping of the Resistance comic.
Yes, you have a you have a cameo in there.
I do have a tiny cameo. Yeah.
How's it going on Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots? And also, if somebody were watching this and they're like, "Who is this Gary Hodges guy?" Where could people check out what you do, Gary?
The best places to follow me are on my Instagram, which is the handle you see right here, at Dinosaurs vs Marsbots, Dinosaurs versus Marsbots, or on YouTube under my name, Gary Hodges. And you'll know it's me because the profile picture is a cartoony Tyrannosaur gobbling up an alien. So, and comics going well. I'm actually going to be working on it while we chat for a little bit. I'm working on trying to get a page finished. I don't think I'll finish it tonight before I go to bed, but it's getting close.
Nice.
Saved the parts that I like doing least for last, which is hair. I don't like drawing hair, especially 70s hair. And I was boring my girlfriend with this earlier. So when you're doing these, so the latest comic is for people who are watching. D vs. M 1979 takes place. Wait for it. 1979. And
wait, wouldn't that be great if you were like takes place, wait for it, in 1980s?
In the 80s.
And why the difference? You'll have to read to find out. No, it actually takes place in 1979. And one of my pet peeves, and you see it all the time in movies and TV, you'll see like period movies or television shows where no one looks authentically that era because it wouldn't be attractive today. So like they don't, like a perfect example I can think of, like one of my favorite TV series all time is Deadwood. The main character, one of the main characters in it, played by Timothy Olyphant, is a historical sheriff, Seth Bullock. And Seth Bullock had a mustache, and Timothy Olyphant has a mustache in the series. Timothy Olyphant's mustache is very like normal mustache. And when you look at pictures of Seth Bullock back in the day, he had a late 1800s mustache, which was massive. He looked like a walrus. And you know why they changed it. They changed it so women watching Deadwood would say, I would F that guy. And if he has the giant walrus mustache, they wouldn't say that. That annoys me. Like, it annoys me that you're like, now this person this doesn't look like the era, and you're spending all this time getting the clothes right, the technology right, the buildings right, and people like, and then the women are wearing modern makeup. It doesn't make any sense. So anyway,
I like that, and I agree with you. But it's funny. Have you seen the I think it's called The Duel, like the movie that was like the medieval duel?
Yeah, with is that the like the last duel?
The last duel, yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. The one that just came out.
Okay, so it's good. It's a really good movie. It's fascinating, but it got a lot of criticism, and a lot of people think it failed at the box office because of how they made I'm blanking out on his name. The actor
Matt
plays
Damon.
Good Will Hunting. Yeah, Matt Damon looks like pretty authentically like a knight from that era would look,
pretty authentically unattractive,
which is
he's
hideous.
right.
He's got like scars all over his face. He's like, his hair is like, hand cut by like a sword. Like, he's just not. He doesn't look.
He's a warrior. He's just a guy who's out there swinging swords at people. Like, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I did too, but it's funny. I think the general public didn't.
Right. And so, and this is one of the things when you're an indie, like, you're the creative director. So you're like, okay, well, what's my 1979 male character going to look like?
Nice.
And part of me is like, I want him to look like he could be in 1979. But are you going like All the President's Men kind of look, or like kind of? So this is the line. So that's the line you're trying to figure out how to ride. Where I don't mind if he's unattractive in a conventional, like a contemporary sense.
Yeah.
But what I would mind is if his hair is so 70s, it's like distracting and laughable to a contemporary reader.
Got it. Okay, so you want it good, but not quite like Kemble hair.
I want I want it authentic, but not distracting.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like that's basically why I have a full page of this guy talking. He's like in, I think let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 panels. And right now he's bald because I was just like, I'll do that last because I don't know yet. Like, so now I'm like working out, like, well, what does his hair look like?
Oh, wow. Okay. So you kind of start him out bald and then.
Yeah, I do everything else. I've done like basically everything else. I haven't done some of the backgrounds, but basically his facial, his hands, everything, like it's all there. His beard, like all, but it's just like, but the hair, it's like, I kind of know what I want, but I don't know exactly. So, and this is an example. This is where I pay the price for not doing tight pencils. My pencils are the loosest. They're barely a step better from a thumbnail, because I enjoy the process of finding it while I'm inking. I don't, I like to kind of just, I'll just like, it keeps me from getting bored if I'm kind of like having to make decisions while I'm inking.
Got it.
But you pay the price sometimes when you don't have a clear vision and now you're doing it. And it's like, you're just going through different iterations, like, well, what about this? No. What about this? No, and you'll spend like 3 days. How dark is this room? That was the last page. The page I finished a few days ago was like, this room pitch black or well lit or somewhere in between, and trying like lots of different versions of it. Like you waste a little bit of time. I don't know if it's wasted, but you burn a lot of time.
No, I get it. Jim said, Gary Hodges, oh my gosh, I have all of his albums. This is true.
From his house.
Jim is a great fan. He's a great fan.
Yeah, he's like, I acquired those albums. Yeah. Well, don't ask Gary, but if you need your albums back.
I thought those were lost in a move. I'm confused now. I have questions. The police have questions.
Exactly. Hey, you stole from the wrong house. He's going to visually reconstruct.
That's right.
This house and bring you to Arizona court. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. I think it's interesting. Like, I've gone both ways about things where I've like had looser iterations, and then tighter iterations. And I think the next book I do might have a little more interpretation when it comes to like the inks, because it's a little bit looser of an inking process too. But one thing I do like, and this might just be a weird thing about my process, is like, I like kind of avoiding too many surprises.
Mm-hmm.
I do like unintended surprises, and I think sometimes that can be fun depending on the medium. But I feel like, especially when you're traditionally inking something, like not working something out in the pencil stage can be like a disaster,
No, if I was, and this is a good example of, you're totally right. And it's a good example of the difference between working traditionally or digitally. If I was working traditionally, my pencils would be so tight, like it would argue like maybe I should just do it pencil. You know, like, because I would be terrified. It's like, no, I need to have this exactly dialed in before I start inking.
Yeah.
Digitally, with the wonders of undo, like you can run through your quote unquote digital ink process 1,000 times, you know, not 1,000, but I mean, some of this stuff, like that room I did on the previous page, I probably went through like 15 different versions of it over a few days.
So I have
see, you know, like, what's the level of light in here? You
Yeah.
know, and like trying to, and see, like, does that look cool? Does that look cool? You know,
I have a question actually about that, because I am a fan of DVSM, not BDSM, ladies and gentlemen.
well, to each his own. I mean, you could be a fan of BDSM. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not judging fans of BDSM.
Let's not polarize the audience.
Exactly. To each their own. But DVSM, that is just like not a to each their own situation. It's just a really good comic. And if you think otherwise, you are an idiot. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyhow, yeah. But anyhow, so like I did notice that like a lot of the backgrounds, some of it seems like vector. So I was kind of curious, and maybe you've already answered this or shown this process and I'm just dumb and didn't notice, but I am. So do you use vector, or is it most like what kind of programs are you using? Because I do think maybe you've commented on this before too, and I just have no memory akin to an elephant.
I don't remember if I did or didn't. Okay. At least for this, it depends. Okay, so this is a it's not, why am I struggling? Because I'm trying to do two things at once. Let me minimize this. Technically.
Oh, sorry. Adam asked, sorry, this is very important before you get into it. Adam asked, is Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots in print? And I'm guessing
sold out. It's out of print right now, but I am officially, this is an exclusive. I'm officially placing a print reorder in about a week. So it will be available again.
And you want to make sure you're following Gary on social media for that, because I'm not kidding. This isn't like a sales pitch. It's like he limits his runs of these things, and they do actually sell out pretty quick.
They sell out, yeah. Because I don't want to sit on a pile of stock. Like, you know, I print what I think I can sell in a reasonable amount of time and order that much. And I don't, thus far, I have not done a Kickstarter. I don't crowd fund or anything like that. So when I have to do a print order, I need to gather up the ducats, you know, and so that's always like, there's always a little bit of a delay, you know, where I'm like, I got to come up with a few $100 to do some prints. But
got it. And as he's gathering ducats, he has to make sure he has period accurate hair to ducats. That's so right. It's like, that's a catch too. Okay, so Gary, you were explaining the vector.
Technically, the vast majority of D versus M is vector because I primarily work in Illustrator. There are things I go into Photoshop to do that are just not doable in Illustrator.
Yeah.
If you've used both, you can imagine things that just don't make any sense in Illustrator. Generally, I'm using a tablet or a mouse. But when it comes to some things, like certain kinds of backgrounds, like man-made, you know, environments.
Yeah.
Or like, for example, like cars or stuff like that. That is very much like plotting points and vectors. And so it has that, it can have that kind of vectory look where it's very kind of clean and exact. But usually it's a little more like I'm using a brush or the pencil or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, by saying it looked vector, it doesn't look vector like infographic looks vector. Just to clarify, it looked vector just to somebody who's familiar with vector like art. I don't think like for somebody who's not super familiar with like Illustrator and its capabilities, I think a lot of people might think it was like hand inked because you do add a lot of texture.
And I tried to,
yeah, and there's a lot of width differences and stuff with the brush. But there's definitely specific things where like I look at it and I instantly am like, okay, I think that's vector, and then I think that texture's Photoshop, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And usually the Photoshop, like I said, I do as much as I can in Illustrator because that's sort of my home and it's where I'm doing all my lettering and everything because I don't hand letter. I'm doing a font so all that, my layout, all that stuff.
Equivalent to what I was saying about people who don't read DVSM or aren't fans, how they're stupid. I would say that people who aren't lettering in Illustrator when it comes to digital art are bordering on it. Although I know the other programs have gotten better, but I'm just saying, like,
I would agree. If you're lettering in Photoshop, I don't know who didn't. Someone didn't hug you enough when you were a kid because lettering in Photoshop is like you just feel it grinding to a halt when you click on that little type button.
I feel attacked. I'm out of here.
No, but like I think Frank, it kind of works for what you're doing, but I do think like as people like progress in the programs and stuff, like considering using Illustrator for typography, the possibilities are so much broader. What you can do.
Exactly. The abilities, and it's snappier and works better, and it's much easier to get it to do the things you want it to do. I just find unless you have a monster of a computer, Photoshop, it's when if you notice that shift, it's because you're taking a raster program and it's now like switching, it's putting on its vector hat to do the lettering, the typography. It's not really for that, and it just, I don't know. If you're hand lettering, you might as well use Photoshop.
Yes.
But if you want to use a font, Illustrator, I don't know. I've always been very comfortable with it. I enjoy what it offers, and especially for the look of D versus M, which is very stark black-white.
Yeah.
Not working traditionally, it kind of works very well for that.
Like if you're trying for something kind of more painterly and stuff, Illustrator may not be your best thing, although it is getting better. And actually along that line, I think Gary and I also come from an era where like typography in Photoshop was like an unthinkable thing.
Yeah.
It was just like so laggy, and it has improved. Like
it has improved.
We might be coming from a slight bias on that too, because
I don't think
we're from a similar.
It's gotten better, but it's still not the same.
Yeah.
So well, anyway, but so when I take the work as far as I can, but I'm sputtering again. Illustrator is great for a lot of things. It's not great for all things, especially if you're trying to get it to look very hand done.
Yeah.
So I usually take pages as far as I can with Illustrator. It gets to a point where it's like, okay, that's as far as I can take it. And then I go into Photoshop and do what I need to do to kind of add that like final 5% that makes it look the way my comics look.
Love it.
And then other things are different. Like the covers I'm doing entirely in Photoshop and and like a lot of the splashy page, like the if you're seeing like pages that they look like photocopied classified documents and stuff, that's all Photoshop. When I'm doing newspaper articles, that's all Photoshop. It just depends. I really do treat it like a toolbox thing. Like, what am I trying to do? What makes the most sense? And that's the program I'm using.
Yeah, I tend to think that too. Like, to me, if I were doing that old timey, like file kind of look, I'd probably execute it on Illustrator and then bring it into Photoshop and like use Photoshop for like the messing it up and making like,
and all the filters. And right.
Yeah. So Photoshop is definitely like, I think, I mean, everybody's got their own tools and stuff, but I think it's funny because it's like, I really appreciate the process you use. And I think it's kind of like, it's sort of perfect because of the fact that like your comics are very exact. Like they're very precise,
They are
not in like a Chris Ware, like, precise kind of way, but like in a Gary Hodges precise kind of way,
Yeah, I would like to think that like, they definitely have a look. And if you see one, for sure that's a D versus M, and I think part of it is the kind of funny blending I do of Illustrator and Photoshop. Like it just has a look that's kind of hard to, I like it when fellow art people come up to me at Comic Cons and stuff and like, how are you doing this? Like, and it's not that they're like, oh, it's so good. It's just like I'm looking at it and I can't really tell what I'm seeing,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I enjoy it. I mean, to me, that's at least it's
How are you doing this sorcery?
right. No, it's more like I can't tell. It looks sort of vectory, looks sort of hand done. It looks sort of, yeah. So that's fun. But,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did have to ask if it was vector. So
yeah,
because there's a possibility, the way you execute it, and I think very expertly are kind of switching between. I think that shows. So that's cool.
Well, thank you. Well,
anyhow, enough compliments.
Yeah, that's too
let's
much.
do insults.
Now insults.
Yeah.
Right.
So what I hate about your beard, Gary.
Keep your wife's name out of, or whatever. I don't know.
You know what's funny? So I don't know if Jim is like psychic or something, because like well before the Oscars, I don't know if you'll notice this, but like if you watch like Artcasters, it's before the Oscars, I think. And Jim was saying, "Keep my name out your mouth," and I'm like, was that Jim being psychic, or am I just that out of touch with pop culture and didn't realize the Oscars?
Yes, everyone's saying that. What is the thing? I mean, is that an thing that people say? I don't know.
I don't know, but that definitely relates to the other reference, because I think that was what he said, like, keep my wife's name out your mouth. So it's like,
wow.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm just saying, like, I feel like Jim is psychically linked with the universe.
He knew this. He could have warned Chris Rock. You know, I mean,
exactly. You could have given him a heads up, man.
Yeah.
But also, I could be oblivious, and maybe the Oscars happened quicker than I thought they did. But I'm pretty sure our Artcasters, where Jim was making that joke, predated the Oscar.
Because this was just Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So
Sunday.
So Jim's been making even at the art hangout, he was making a keep that name out your mouth joke.
Okay.
And so I'm curious. I'm just curious what's going on.
I think he even said it on the last Artcasters on Thursday where you were out.
Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, Jim, do you think, here's the thing. What
did he know? And
I was just talking. Yeah, I was just talking about autobio, right? Do you guys think that maybe Lars Lazarus is an autobiographical story by Jim?
Maybe Jim has a lot of hidden messages in all his work. Maybe we need to go back and map it all out and figure out what he's trying to tell us.
It's true. So Jim, if you're watching this, I think Jim might have ducked out at this point. Although he was chiming in the chats earlier. But if you're watching this after the fact, Jim, you have to let us know what's going on here. Does Gary have to include you now in Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots? Is there a cover-up? Is there some kind of deep government secret going on where some truth that's being covered up?
People are one of the agents. Jim doesn't need a flashy thing. He is the flashy thingy thing.
That's true. Actually, we should be careful because we might disappear. Might get disappeared. So that's cool though. So you're making progress and figuring out hair. I actually empathize with the hair thing a lot because I had to do pitch pages where I'm drawing Elizabeth Barrett Browning.
Yeah.
And I had to make some bold decisions there.
She's not bold.
Like what?
So Elizabeth Barrett Browning is not one of the most pleasant to look at people. Like she's
okay.
So I have to be partially because she was like really addicted to opium.
I'll do it.
But so it's like trying to kind of beautify a little bit, but also be accurate. And then also the hairstyles and the way hair was done. Like Robert Browning's beard is kind of weird. It's a bit of like a neck beard kind of thing that are mostly just big mutton chops that kind of consume part of his face. And it's like trying to find because he's also described by other people as very handsome at the time. And so it's like trying to find
at the time.
Right.
Ways to make that clear, but also, anyhow, my point is, I would have been a stranger to navigating that, but I am not anymore. And it's going to be an interesting test, because I have to do that with a bunch of people. luckily with a villain character, you can kind of just be like, hey, this person has a creepy mustache.
I'll draw them
Make that
exactly.
creepy mustache.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a funny problem. I mean, unfortunately, like I'm not. I have a little bit easier than you because these aren't historical characters, so I can come up with whatever I want. It's my own little hobgoblin that's saying like, well, he needs to actually, this needs to look like 1979. So,
Why, hello, Scott. How's it going?
Good. I was thinking about that I was listening to you guys. I was thinking about that the whole time that Jim was saying that. Keep my name out your mouth.
Yeah.
Saying that.
Right? Isn't it weird that like predated the Oscar
That
event?
is weird. That is weird.
I think Jim is psychic. Jim has to let us know. But that was a fun meetup, though, Scott. How bad was the drive back?
Oh, it was not. It was fine. You know, I just put on. I had a bunch of I had these old cassette tapes from this, or not cassette tapes, but CDs that I recorded. There was this DJ who used to do this bit called Last Character Standing. I don't know if Gary would remember. This is back with The Edge, the morning show a while ago. Anyway, he would do these bits where he'd do this monologue of this character he created, and he'd pit it against another character, and people would vote on him. And they were just kind of clever and everything. So, and they were online, so I downloaded all of them a long time ago, and then I was just digging through some stuff, and I found that I had them, so I was listening to those on the way. And
wait, so
just whatever
explain
else.
What you mean by pitted against another character, because I'm not understanding that.
Yeah, okay, so it was basically, it's a radio bit, but he would write this monologue of a character, like there's the one guy called Jeep Cherokee, the Native American who hates the outdoors, and he was just talking about how his grandparents were these revered warriors and stuff, and he was just like this kid that liked to play video games and stuff. And talk about how he doesn't like the outdoors and all that stuff. But anyway, so that was one bit, and then there was
wait. So he starts with like a monologue about the character.
No, it would just be a bit where he would start off like talking as this character. It was just like a long sort of.
Oh, okay. Does he improv like both characters? Like
no, it was scripted. He would script them.
Okay, but he's playing both characters.
Yeah, he would. I think they were. He'd probably maybe record them ahead of time, and then he'd play one, and then he'd play the other one, and then the audience would vote on who they want to return the next week.
That sounds awesome. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you'll be able to check it. I mean, that was a long. I mean, I can send you some of them. I think Jim would get a kick out of it because some of them are just bizarre. I mean, because he had certain characters that would win over and over, so they just kept coming back. But then the challengers would just be, I mean, they're just kind of funny character studies and like, oh, that's kind of clever. And some of them was just it was more the kind of the concept behind them, but they could definitely be like characters you might find in like a Jim Lujan cartoon or something. So
yeah.
So I don't know. I listened to those, and I listened to, I just listened to some music and stuff. It's really not that bad of a drive. I mean, usually I make it. I mean, it would have been cool if we could have got Gary to go with me on the road trip. But
yeah, I was bummed out.
Yeah, but hopefully there'll be other opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if Gary was like a good friend. I mean, that would be a nice.
Yeah. But I've made that drive before, or I drive down to Disneyland before by myself and everything. So it's not really that big of a deal. It's only
No.
I go to visit my dad.
Scott, lay the guilt thick, man. Lay it down so we can get Gary into the next
it was just
like I've made that drive my own. I was driving and just thinking about
I was so
that got sick recently
bored and lonely the whole time.
Bored and
sitting there in my car,
starting to get a little dark.
Yeah, I kept having these questions about like dinosaurs versus Mars bots that I really wanted to get like in deep discussions about, but just there was just something missing.
Yeah.
But you were missed. Did you see the empty chair, Gary, that we left?
I did, and I loved it. Yeah, that was nice.
Do you remember the name of the animator guy that was there?
I don't, because I
don't either. I don't
I'm
know.
The last person when people bring even comic book artists. There's especially current ones.
Yeah,
like a lot. I mean, I know Corey reads a lot more modern stuff than I do, and like sometimes they'll bring up people, and they might be huge in the
Yeah.
comic book world, but I'm just this independent guy, and I really don't know who's drawn for Marvel or DC. So people will bring up, oh, you know this person. I'm like, no, I don't. But it's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just because of me. It's not. I'm not like saying, yeah, I don't know who that is. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just, I'm just so out of touch. So,
No,
but
same
it's kind of
here.
the same with a lot of some animators and stuff. But
yeah, I have the same thing. That's why I was kind of curious if you knew it, because it's like I don't remember the guy. I remember. I think Jim knew him because I think he must
Yeah.
be like kind of a heavy hitter in animation. But it's like
yeah, and you
it
know,
went
Jim's
right
more
in
of an
one ear and
animator.
yeah, it went right in one ear and out the other for me.
Yeah.
But also
Do you
that's
know
not
this
like.
Walt Disney fella?
Well, that was it. That was the guy. It was Walt
Yeah.
Disney. That's right.
I was way into Walt Disney before anybody knew about him. Actually,
Yeah, that's true. Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. I liked his early stuff. Then he sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what was
But
the
yeah.
oh my gosh, there's a bit where it's a back in the day bit where somebody was talking about back in the day, like what day? And then I think they were making the joke that like people often say like I'm from the streets, and he's like, I'm not from the streets, I'm from a street. Like
Yeah.
but it's like I'm from the street, man. Like that's kind of funny.
I love I don't know if you've ever seen Kevin Smith's story about when he got hired to write a Superman script for Warner Brothers.
Oh, nice.
And that was a line that came up. Like he was working with this crazy producer. I'm trying to remember the guy's name.
You're talking about this about putting the spider or whatever in it. That story he tells.
Well, yeah, that same story. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And the guy was like, you know why we're going to do a great job with the Superman movie? Because we understand Superman. You know why we understand Superman? Because we're from the streets. And like Kevin Smith was like, I grew up on a street. I'm not from the streets. Like I never saw a black person until I was in my 20s. Like I don't know about you. I thought you were a hairdresser. You dated Barbara Streisand or something.
That's
Yeah, I
so
remember
good.
telling that story.
That might be where I heard that bit. That might actually be it. Kevin Smith's a pretty darn good storyteller, dude.
He really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I don't even really like his movies, but I enjoy listening to him talk about things.
Yeah, I mean, Mallrats has a special place in my heart. You know, because it's just a bad movie.
Yeah.
But I legitimately have a place in my heart for that movie.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah, I can't help it. It's just funny. And then also like Jason Lee's pretty awesome, so that's probably another reason. But yeah, can't really think of. Oh yeah, but I do. I think I like him just talking more than his movies. I agree with that. Yeah. Although I did probably watch Clerks like one too many times back in the 90s for sure.
I probably did too, because I worked at a lot of customer service jobs in high school and college, so I appreciated it.
Yeah. Also that was like before they had like meta conversations in a lot of movies. So like the conversation about the workers on the Death Star was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was the internet before the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
love it.
Cool. When I used to watch his movies, I would watch the movie and listen to the commentary after I finished watching the movie. So like, just hearing all the behind the scenes and all the stories they tell.
Oh, so you were a Kevin Smith fan too, then?
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. All right, I'm gonna be back in like 2 seconds. I have to wash this craziness off my hand, and we're at the hour mark. Which, by the way, Gary, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is like now an on-running joke. Anytime we have a physical meetup, where if I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go get some coffee, they kind of joke like, I'll be like, okay, guys, so I have to go get some coffee. So while I'm gone, why don't you let people know where to find your work? And like, it's just that's how I am in person.
Right, just always the same way. Right.
Right. Yeah. Where it's like when I introduce myself to people, it's like, oh, hi, Gary, and what do you do, and where can people find your work?
Yeah,
like,
tell me.
This is my friend. Oh, hi. It's nice to meet you. And why don't you let our audience know? It's like there's no one here. It's just
talk to just turn and look at nobody. And
okay. So
check out the links below.
Yes. Speaking of though, why don't you guys make the rounds and let everybody know where to find your work? I guess start with Scott, even though Scott needs no real introduction. None of it you guys need introduction, but still, Scott, where can everybody buy Young and the Dead? And then
you can buy that. You can buy that at circworks.com, and as well as a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, Gary, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Dinosaurs vs. Marsbots, as seen in the little caption under my window right now, and you can find me on YouTube under my name, Gary Hodges.
Where can people get some cool mini comics? Handmade mini comics.
You can go to my YouTube channel, Salazar Art Nation. There's links in there. You can also look up on Etsy, Salazar Nation Comics. And if you want to get them in digital form, you can go to my Gumroad and buy them there.
Sweet. So, Frank, you had mentioned the newsletter that I sent out.
Yes.
Today. Yeah.
Was I not supposed to?
Oh no! Yeah, of course. Yeah, please do. But that was
for you, Frank.
You probably noticed that's the first newsletter that I sent out in a while.
Yeah.
And I was moving everything kind of to Substack because I hit my limit over at MailChimp, and it took me a while to figure out how to a system for collecting new emails and doing all that stuff. Anyway, but so I sent that. I kind of structured it a little differently, and I sent that out. And man, I've only sent one email out or one newsletter out through Substack, but I had so much better engagement from that. Just people commenting on it and people opening it and everything. And I don't know if Substack just doesn't let you know when people unsubscribe, or if I just didn't get any unsubscribes, which is weird because usually whenever I send out a newsletter, I get a bunch of unsubscribe. But man, I was just really impressed with the way, the engagement I got from that Substack. And maybe it was just because the content was a little different, but I don't know. What do you think of that versus, I don't know if you remember the old emails that I sent out.
Yeah, I think I still have all those old emails.
Yeah.
I liked it. At first I thought it was like an Artcasters thing. And I was like, oh no, it's actually a newsletter.
Yeah.
So I was looking at stuff there. I didn't see if I could comment, but I think
I think you have to. That's the other cool thing about Substack is it's more of like a blog. So, and I might try to integrate it on my website too, because I've got some section like news or something on my website that hasn't been updated since I built the thing. But I might be able to put those things that I put out on Substack on there. And the cool thing about that is you can go back in the archives, whereas you couldn't do that with MailChimp. You couldn't go look at old emails and stuff. I mean, old newsletters that I sent out. And this one I'm kind of structuring, because if you've been to my website, I say art, advice, and inspiration for Mac creators. So I just kind of decided I was going to break it up into those categories. So, I talked about art and I showed what I'm working on with the cover for Young and the Dead. And then I talked about advice, and it was all about getting out and actually meeting with, creatives in your area. And I shared a bunch of pictures from our meetup. And then I just did, and then I did inspiration. And when we were, so when Josh and I and everyone else were looking through that antique store, we saw this old 8-track player. And I almost bought
mentioned this is the difference between Scott and I. Like, he's telling the story. He mentions the 8-track player. I mentioned the story. The first thing I mentioned was the human finger.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those weren't real too. By the
I don't think they were. Yeah. Anyhow, go ahead.
Yeah, so that I almost bought that 8-track player because I think it was like $50 or something, or
it was really cool.
Yeah, and it was really cool looking, and I hadn't seen it.
Looks like one of your retroventions.
Yeah, exactly. So that
I was seeing that, and I was like, did you make those for free? Did you create those? So
anyway, so I just shared a bunch of stuff like that, inspiration, because I showed a picture of what that looked like. And there was a bunch of pictures online of that, so it's probably mass produced. So I think if I ever wanted to buy one, I could probably find one.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't want to carry it around, and two, I'm trying to get rid of a bunch of junk in my house and not collect more stuff. So, but it was really cool looking. So,
Cool.
so yeah, I just shared that. But I was really, I mean, I don't know if it's the format or just this. People are more susceptible to like or accepting of like Substack content or something. But yeah, I got a lot of feedback and people saying, "Oh, I hope you do more of this stuff," and you know, and not just a lot of unsubscribes, which is really cool. So
That's awesome.
So
man.
yeah, I don't know. And I was surprised with the open rate and everything too. So it was pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that stuff.
Dude, that's cool. I need to look into Substack.
Yeah.
It actually sounds pretty awesome. I also need to read that email. I've been like, I was just at the top, like Paul was on for a second. Like he was like the first person in the chats when I started the stream. And I mentioned to Paul, like I showed his book and I'm like, I'm reading this. I'm on page like 38, you know? And it's like, I've had it for like 4 days.
I'm just about to order one of his.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah,
get
so
that
like
too.
the first one is Detective Perez.
That's
Welcome
the one.
to Rust
That's
City.
the one I was going to order. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just bought both because like together they were like $10. I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
pretty good deal. And I'm loving it like so far, but I'm only on page like 35 actually. And I've had it for like half a week. Like that's kind of the speed that I can read comics nowadays. And it kind of bummed me out because I'm like actually enjoying it, but it's like I have to just draw like all the time now. Because I'm in production mode, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, like Gary or Scott, how do you guys fight like the urge to like read comics and stuff or like watch movies or whatever, like when you're in the thick of like production mode?
It's terrible. So right now, so I play video games. Anyone who plays video games is watching right now, they're probably familiar with this. I picked up Elden Ring, which is like the latest.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm only saying oh no because like gamers I know have gotten sucked into the void of Elden Ring and I don't know if they'll ever come out.
It's the devil. It's terrible. And so it's it's become like a reward thing. So it's like if I draw, this number of hours today, or if I do this, then I am allowed. You kind of have to parent yourself because otherwise, like I would sit there any like non-day job hour and just sit there and like fight trolls on Elden Ring. So like you really have to. And I fortunately this is where it's important to have, like, in my opinion, important to have your own schedule that you're going to adhere to. Me, it's always been, people have heard, if they follow me, they've heard me say this forever, page a week. The slowest I can go is one finished page a week. So like that, when I have that in my head, like however tempted I am by Elden Ring, I can do the math. It's like I can't sit and play this for 5 hours and also get my page done in time. So like I'm gonna have to like just set this aside. But it's killing me. I just know it's out there on my nice big screen waiting. Like you could be playing Elden Ring right now. It's like nope.
Yeah, I totally get that. What
But
about you,
comics
Scott?
aren't getting read. Like I shared a pile of comics I've been meaning to read for a while now on my Instagram today.
Nice.
And I feel bad because two are friends. Scott Losts, he put out 2 new books. It was in Kickstarter. They showed up. They probably showed up like a month ago, and I still haven't read them. I feel terrible, but it's like because I've been in like crazy drawing mode. But this week I'm gonna try and catch up on comics.
That's awesome. That sounds good. I need to like prioritize and make some reading time, I will say it's one of the reasons I really appreciate like YouTube or like audio forms that I can listen to. Because it's like it is nice to be able to like drive and listen to something and catch up with friends or follow what people are doing. Scott, like, how do you balance it, dude? Like with that stuff.
For one, it helps to suck at video games so much that you don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, I have a feeling Elden Ring would be one because I've been out of gaming since like probably, I think Scott and I might have like stopped gaming around the same time.
I never really started, unless you count like old Atari. I never really started.
I just
I mean,
like my last system was NES, the first one.
Yeah, once
Wow.
you got into the anything beyond the
Coleco
joystick
was
games,
my last
I
system.
don't play. I've never played. I mean, once you get all those buttons and I just remember wandering around and kept bumping into walls and stuff and not doing what I'm like. Enough of that. I'm done with this. So
Yeah.
I just never had the patience for it. So I just.
But if
Yeah,
you
I never
had
really
like
got into
Pong
video
or
games.
Frogger, it's on, dude.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If I sent you a Dig Dug machine, you would play.
Oh yeah, I'd love that.
But I like I definitely like I need to I don't know, it's interesting. For me it's the main reason I've never bought like a modern gaming system is I could see myself like getting really sucked in. So Elden Ring, like this is how little I know about gaming and stuff. What system is Elden Ring on? Or is it like just
It's
a
on
PC
multiple
game?
systems. I'm playing it on the Xbox Series X console.
Nice. And is it as like impossible as people say it is? Like
It's the latest in a series of games that sort of one of the big selling points is they're very difficult. I would say it's probably not as difficult as some of the others in the series, but it is like it's challenging. It's a game that if you haven't played games in 10 or 15 years, I feel like you'd be a bad one to hop back in with.
Can you die in the game? Because I noticed, like, back when I used to play games, you could die. And then, like, new games, you don't die. You just keep going and going.
Oh, no, you will die. It's far on the other end of the... It's like old school, like, you're going to constantly be done.
Okay.
Yeah. And what that's interesting is, like, I think that's... I don't find the difficulty that outlandish because I'm of an age where we grew up with games where that are brutally hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of games now are like
E.T.
win, and so it's like very easy. It's more like an experience that you're being ushered through.
Yeah.
Where these Souls games, like Elden Ring, that's like the nickname for them, they're kind of like old school games. Like if you played Castlevania back on the Nintendo, it's about that hard. It's like that level of difficulty where you're going to die all the time, but it's very doable. Like if you're willing to shave your head and commit your life to learning its mysteries. But
I like it.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. No, like
that is the second dig at my looks.
You take Frank's name out your mouth.
Man with
keep Frank's name out of your mouth.
First you said man with a walrus mustaches can't get a woman. Now you're talking about.
I know. I'm just asking. I'm asking for trouble tonight.
Frank, I feel like you have a ways to go until you have like a straight up walrus mustache, man.
Yeah.
But if you're heading there,
it's good.
Yeah, if you're heading to walrus mustache territory, I highly encourage it.
Frank, keep my.
I wasn't playing on it. I was looking at an old picture because my sister, I saw her like a couple of weeks ago. She's like, "Oh, I know you had a mustache," and I was thinking like, when I saw you last, I had a mustache, but that was in December. And I looked at the old pictures, like it was barely coming in. So I was like, oh yeah, it has grown in quite a while.
Yeah, you've got a much fuller
walrus.
one. Yeah, I wanna see the full Lemmy. That's what I want to see.
You need to go all the way.
Let it grow.
Yes.
Grow it down to your chin.
Oh,
all the way. Go crazy.
Scott, have you ever done a mustache?
The only time I ever did that was when, like, one of the No Grow November or whatever the thing is like that. It was like I can't. I get to the point where it itches too much and I don't like it. So that's the worst point, and it's like a battle of the wills.
Yeah.
And then once you overcome that point, that's when it becomes like strangely addictive, like a strange fungus.
Yeah.
Growing on your face that like has become a part of you.
Way to sell it, Josh. Way to sell it.
It's like
there's the itchy stage, and then there's also almost
we all have fungus on our face.
The stage that it doesn't even look like anything. Like then it looks just bad, like before anything has really come together. Like
yeah, it just looks like you're very unshaven. you
yeah,
know? Yeah.
very unshaven in a very specific place. It's like,
Yep.
what the hell are you doing? And yeah, that's a tough period to work through.
But I think once you're at the fungus point, it's kind of like a symbiote that grows on you and then suddenly convinces you that it was like the best idea ever.
Yeah.
That's what I'm convinced of because I'm like all about beards now.
Could you ever give it up?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I can quit on this beard.
Yeah, I don't think I could either. I think it's been too long now where I just can't. I can't.
Yeah, and I don't know if
Yeah,
it's the
like,
beard whispering dark mysteries to me that like are not true, and I've just listened to my beard. Yeah, is the beard starting to talk to you, Frank? It's like, don't shave me. You look in the mirror.
Yeah, it's sort of like, maybe I should shave. Like, no, don't.
No.
It's like, we're important, Frank. We're important. Yeah, I feel like there is some kind of weird thing to it. So Scott, you might have lucked out and avoided having a strange symbiote like living on your face, basically.
Venom.
Exactly. I think I'm pretty excited about today. I'm excited about making progress. Are you guys getting stuff done?
Yeah, I'm trying to finish.
I just finished doing those touch-ups on the page spread.
Hell yeah!
I'm feeling pretty
Which
good.
I used the double page spread template from the comics toolkit from Scott Cirkworks.
Just work it in there.
Which most of this comic was, I used a lot of elements from the different toolkits. So there's fonts and the halftones and stuff like that.
I just realized you said elements. The first time I heard that, I heard vitamins. I don't know if I'm sleepy, but I thought you were going to say like Scott was selling vitamins. And I'm like, Scott.
I bought a lot. You know what, that is funny because when you look up Cirkworks Art Labs on Amazon, you get vitamins. Like you get stuff for vitamins as well.
Really?
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it's true.
Scott, tell us about your moonlighting as a right-wing radio show host.
I did not know that.
Like, this is the other side of Scott that none of us know about, where he's like, look, guys, I'm just saying, like, aliens, they might exist, and also you need to take herbal supplements, you guys, like brain juice. And
take
you can
your
order.
vitamins.
Let me ask you something. Are you taking ashwagandha? Are you getting enough ginseng?
Yeah. Get some ginkgo in that Balboa or whatever it is.
Yes, ginkgo in that Balboa.
Okay.
So you're making good progress. You were saying, Gary, your progress?
I'm feeling like finishing this page
Frisky
tomorrow night is very, very doable.
Nice.
Which is great because it means I can go ahead and like the goal is always to be at worst starting a new page Saturday morning, which means I'd be done a couple days early, which means I can get a jump on the next one. I'm trying to get ahead. Like I started this process way ahead and then I slipped behind to where I was just on time, like on schedule. And I'm trying to get back to ahead. So,
yeah, that's actually what I'm doing tonight. Is I usually would have capped it at the one panel, but I am aiming for 2 because I completely missed yesterday and felt like a failure.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling when you're normally very diligent and productive.
Yeah, and I think like some of it's healthy and some of it's unhealthy. Like for me, I think yesterday I was physically exhausted and just needed to actually go to bed on time. And I was like, I woke up like beating myself up. I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I slept 8 hours because I can't do that,
That's an
And-
example of probably the wrong direction, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know, it's an interesting thing. I feel like it's either one way or the other. Usually I'm like too extreme about my expectations,
One way or the
or I'm
other.
like too minimal about it. What about you, Scott? How's your progress coming along?
Good. I mean, I'm still working on the cover, but I'm hoping to wrap it out. I was,
That's exciting, though. The
yeah,
cover.
a bunch of other projects
Wow.
that I'm working on. So it's just kind of little here and there. And then I was basically going through when I got the message that you're going to go live, because I wanted to work on this comic, but I was going through one of my closets downstairs, and I'm just trying to go through my whole house and just get, just purge a bunch of stuff. So
Nice.
my whole bedroom is like just got junk all over it. I'm like, do I really want to leave all this stuff here and just, I'm like, I'll finish this up tomorrow, because I want to work on my comics. So
I really hate the fact that if somebody says in the closet, I can't sing the song about in the closet anymore.
Have you heard are you talking about the R. Kelly one?
Yes.
Have
I don't
you
know
heard
if it's
the Weird Al
appropriate
version?
to do. No.
It's called In the Drive-Thru.
In the drive-through.
Trapped in the Drive-Thru.
Oh my gosh.
And it's so funny because like I played it and it's just as long and it just is like ridiculous. And the funny
So
thing
he did
is,
like a full epic parody.
it's all
I
about
love
him
it.
being stuck in the drive-thru and not having any money and them getting the order wrong and the whole thing. And I played it for my girlfriend and it just kept going. I'm like, and I said, and she's like, does this keep going? I said, no, you have to hear the real song. The real song is just as ridiculous as this, if not more, because it's serious.
Yeah.
And so I played the real song, and she's like,
Yeah.
"No, this is not real. This is
No.
This is not real."
That's the mind of a person who
Yeah.
clearly lost touch with some reality there.
Yeah.
Right.
But also I still think I think that moment was a moment of genius on his part. And I
The peeing?
I mean, like,
are you talking about the peeing? Are you like,
no, exactly not. But I feel like it was
top tier.
unintentional genius. It was like that Ed Wood moment of like where like the sincerity overlapped with just complete delusion,
I see.
and you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this is.
I was really looking forward to a full-throated, unapologetic defense of the peeing. I was looking forward to
That's
look,
true.
I gotta say, still one of the most genius moments I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
Yes, I'm going to defend the indefensible for and now I'm going to double down on it, and then
That's
it's
a hot take.
tomorrow.
I mean,
Tomorrow on
Well, we do a
hashtag
reaction
cancel.
video on it tomorrow.
I love
you'd
it.
be monopolizing that side of the argument. I think
That's
there'd be
true.
no one else
You know
over
what's
there.
sad, Gary, is I may not be. Like, there probably are people out
There
there
probably are.
sincerely
I'm
making
sure.
that argument.
Yeah, the internet is full of bad takes. So
That's
I'm
true.
certainly
If you're
someone-
looking for bad takes,
Yeah.
you guys,
Little
hot
P never
take.
hurt anyone.
Hot take here.
It's good
the
for this-
internet. The internet is full of bad takes. That's my hot take for the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but like, I need to hear the Weird Al parody because I guarantee, like, if Weird Al, like, the thing I will give Weird Al, is like he commits, dude. Like, if he's gonna parody a song, he's going full bore, doing the whole song as authentically as
I don't
possible.
think I've heard that.
Yeah, it is super hilarious, especially if you've heard the original. But the thing is, that original is so bonkers that it's almost like it
Can't
doesn't
be
need a
afraid.
parody, but the parody's good. It's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah. I
How
feel
do you
like
feel
that is.
How do you feel about Dan? Is it who's playing Weird Al in the biopic? Is
Was
it
it-
Daniel Radcliffe?
I think it's
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, he's
though,
playing Weird Al?
from what I understand of how that originated, I think it's amazing. Because I think originally it was a Funny or Die bit, and
really?
and I think it was like I'm not sure who wrote it or pitched it, but like the idea was like we're gonna do this trailer for the Weird Al biopic, and then the bit of it is it's like every rockumentary, you know, where he's like just drugged out and just like his
Right.
mom's like, "You're weird," and he's like, "I'm not, Mom," like that kind of thing, and he's like, "I just want to play accordion, man," and then it like, you know, the Daniel Radcliffe part, I guess like Weird Al knew that Daniel Radcliffe was like a fan because he had, I don't know, done like a parody or something. And so he asked him to do it. But then I guess like the bit was so popular, they actually made it a real biopic by the same name as the Funny or Die sketch.
That's great.
So I think it'll be funny. I'm curious if they're going to do it in that direction. Because if they go that direction with it, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, like I'm
Oh, you
curious.
think
If
it's
like,
like
is
that,
it going to
not
be
like
like
a serious
straight
documentary?
serious thing, or yeah?
No, I'd watch it either way. I'm a
Sure.
Weird Al fan, but I if it was a serious documentary on him, I'd watch it. And if it was, you know,
Yeah, have you seen the Funny or Die sketch? It has
I know I have. It's been a while, but I know I have.
Yeah, because Patton Oswalt like has a cameo, and I'm curious if they're gonna cast him. But they had him as what was that comedic DJ that influenced Weird Al?
Oh, Weird Dr. Demento.
Yeah,
Dr.
so
Demento, yeah.
so they had
Okay.
him on the fake trailer as Dr. Demento. So I don't know. It'd
That's
be
pretty
interesting.
Oh,
But I think it's cool. I don't know. I
It's
think
been a
it's
while.
cool that
it's been a while since I've seen it. So yeah.
I think it's cool that it got greenlit. You know, that's pretty awesome. If it's a real biopic, it'd be cool too. But I don't know. I think the fact that it's Daniel Radcliffe is kind of funny to me. I think that's
Now,
awesome.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I know I've seen Daniel Radcliffe in a bunch of different things, but does he do accents or
Yeah,
does
kind
he
of.
do an American accent?
I feel like I've seen him. Yeah,
Okay.
like he can. I mean,
He
it's
does a British accent in that Harry
Well, yeah.
Potter movie.
yeah, he does. He's really good at a British accent. I think it's passable. It's not the best I've heard. Like you can tell, but like that it's not as native.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
Oh yeah,
It's not bad.
especially as you know that he's British, so it's kind of
Yeah, it's interesting because like
hard to not hear it.
the guy who played House, right?
That was Jim Carrey.
When
I was thinking of him too.
when
Hugh
I
Laurie.
first
Hugh
saw
Laurie,
it,
yeah.
when I first saw Hugh Laurie, I was like weirded out when I saw him as House because I was familiar with like Jeeves and Wooster. Like there's this TV series that he was in that did all of PG Wodehouse's like short stories of like Jeeves and Wooster, and it was him and oh my gosh, I'm blanking out on the guy who
Stephen
played
Fry?
Jeeves. Stephen Fry, yeah, played Jeeves, and they're really British, and like and then Hugh Laurie was just like played a bumbling moron, like he plays Wooster, so he just plays this kind of bumbly like goofy character. So then when I saw like the first season of House, I was just like, it took me a couple episodes to just like
Except
get the like baffling, like bumbling British guy who's just like blah blah blah, like talking nonsense, to like this genius doctor who's just like, well, I've got a very serious British, like not British voice, and it's very deep, and it definitely doesn't sound like I'm repressing an English accent. But then what's funny is, I remember that first year House was playing, telling people like he's British, and people were like, "No."
Yeah, to me, his is
like,
totally convincing. But
yeah,
and also the kid playing Spider-Man now. I can't think of his
There's
name.
so many that are really.
Tom Holland?
British actors or Australian
Tom
actors that do American accents that I can't.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
Yeah, I didn't know he
does a
was
really-
British until I saw an interview.
Yeah, Tom Holland is. I thought he does a really good job with it. But...
yeah. I think I think British people tend to be better.
I didn't know
at
House was
American
British
accents.
either until
I'm
later.
guessing that's because they probably watch more American TV and American media than we do. You know,
the
European
good
stuff.
TV.
I mean, I grew up watching a lot of British television, but
Yeah.
I still can't like. I could make like a fake generic British accent, but I don't think anyone who's like British would be fooled by it
right.
because my accent's gonna be like a weird mix. Yeah, it'll be like a weird mix of like Cockney and then like 50 different regions, and they'll just be like, that doesn't sound. It'd be like somebody who's like, oh, I'm an American, blimey, and you're like, wait, blimey, that's not American, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, yeah.
More gruel, please. That's my.
I do think the
British.
idea of talking as if you were somebody like, have you guys ever tried that? Like, spend a day talking as if you were pretending to be American?
Pretending to be
Pretending to
American.
be American?
Yeah, just like, if you just were to talk and pretend that you were pretending to be American. So you're like,
Oh, I see. So you're like a double agent.
yeah.
You're an American. You're like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. You're pretending to be a guy who's pretending to be a guy.
I just think it would be interesting to see if you could pull off sounding like you're faking your accent, even
Faking
though
an
it's a real accent.
American. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever see? It went viral a while ago. There was this YouTube video. This girl who did all these accents, but it was just gibberish. She wasn't saying words, but she would do all these different accents, just speaking in gibberish, and it sounded like. And you hear all these languages that you don't know how to speak, and you're like, "Oh, that sounds exactly like it." And then she would do an American accent, all in gibberish. I'm like, "That sounds like an American, but it's gibberish." But you don't really realize it's gibberish until you hear your own language spoken that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder.
That would be pretty cool. No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I have to look. I don't know how I would search that. It's an old video, but it was pretty amazing. I'm sure it was some big YouTuber that just did all these different.
I've always wondered about that because, like, when you hear kids faking, like, super racist now, but when you hear kids, faking like a Chinese speaker or something like that, I always wondered, like, in China, if they're faking, like, oh, I'm an American, blah blah blah, like, what sounds do they make? Like, I want to know what does that sound like?
Well, that's kind of what you kind of get from that video, like.
Yeah.
Just maybe search like girl doing gibberish in different accents and see if something comes up.
Yeah, I want to look for that.
I don't know.
Now I'm kind of curious.
It's older
I've
video.
seen two comedians do a bit like that. One was a female comedian. I don't even remember her name, but years ago. But she was Japanese and she was doing this show with a bunch of comedians, and so she's like speaking like that stereotypical Japanese accent, and she was like making up some gibberish, and then she was saying, "No, I can speak English, but please don't talk like that because sometimes when you guys talk like that, you make sense."
The accent makes it work.
Yeah, and that was a guy. He did a similar bit, but yeah, but I can't say them now. I can't do the impression.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Okay.
let's avoid those impressions too. I got some.
No, I wasn't going to, but I was just explaining it.
Yeah, but yeah, I think every time I've heard somebody doing like a U.S. accent, like in general, like at least in comedy, I think it tends to be a cowboy.
Yeah,
it's like either a cowboy or it's like a really hardcore like Wall Street business guy. Which is like where the house thing is funny to me because I think Hugh Laurie pulled it off, but still, like, if you listen to his voice, it does sound like a guy from like a Wall Street movie where it's like, "Well, I'm going to talk very seriously."
It's super, and it's also very. Now that you mention it, super non-specific. Like, you wouldn't be able to guess like where he's from. Like, it's in terms of like if you're accepting that he's an American, it sounds a little generalized. But
although then again, I think most people can do a good like Jersey mobster voice, but even that I think probably starts sounding like Jersey, and then like in 5 seconds it's like Chicago, and in
Joyzy.
10 seconds it's
I got to admit, like, so I did a little bit of voice stuff for Jim Lujan's latest production.
Nice. Is there a little bit of tie-in with the mobster voice?
Well, I was asking, like, so what do you think this guy sounds like? So, before I started. And he was definitely saying, he's like, I don't know, I think he's a little bit of a Jersey guy. And like, I did some test recordings of myself, like trying to do that, and was failing miserably. It was so cringy and bad. So I pivoted. I like went in a slightly different direction because I was like, I don't think I can pull that off. It doesn't sound right. So the final character is not a Jersey guy.
Nice.
Okay.
I am excited to hear that voice acting, though, Gary.
I'm excited to hear it. I'm hoping we get a teaser sometime. I think It's time.
I think it'll be sooner rather than later because he was making pretty good progress on it. Corey said, "Dang, it's a party and I can't jump on." That's true. It is a party. And then
seem like he's making progress now. I think he said all the art is done now. He's just animating.
Oh yeah.
I thought that's what he told me.
Wow.
I hope that wasn't classified.
No. I think that's where he was at when we met up. Yeah, I think he was literally editing, literally. The word literally. He was just sitting at a.
Well, he told me to keep his animation out of my mouth so I couldn't see him.
Yeah.
I still think he's psychic. So that stuck with you too, huh, Scott? Like after the. Yeah, because.
He was saying it all this weekend, and he was saying it on the Artcasters earlier, and.
Yeah, it was just weird to me because when I saw
he got hold of the Oscar script.
Yeah, I don't know because that's the first thing I thought when I saw that clip was like, did Jim see that? And then I was like, he couldn't have. That's weird. Yeah, maybe Will Smith is a Jim Lujan fan, and just Jim had planted the like.
There we go.
Out your mouth, like in his head.
There we go. I think that's the most likely.
Will Smith was about to contact Jim to do a live action of one of his movies. So he was studying up on the role.
Or Jim is subconsciously planting violence across the whole planet by bringing up the out your mouth. And eventually we're all going to just be slapping each other. That's basically where we're all.
A weird DC supervillain. Just he's making people violent.
So
The slapper.
The slap happy.
Slapper.
The slapper. Oh my goodness. Okay, I gotta disappear for 2 seconds again. I'm gonna get a refill of coffee. I appreciate you guys hanging out.
That's a villain for the Captain Anarchy story.
Ooh, it's not bad. I think we need to fully develop that story. I want to hear Gary's rewrite of our script.
I don't feel like I can
watch like 5 hours worth of videos just so we can catch up.
He's done the research, I think. I think Gary's familiar enough.
Oh, I am familiar. I'm going to leave it in more experienced hands.
All right, I'll be right back. We're at hour 2. It doesn't hurt to remind people where to do that. Also, Adam said, "Keep my name out your mouth" is an older meme. Yes, but I'm just saying Jim was on that meme pretty heavily during the 4 days leading up to a giant snafu.
And he was slapping
Oscars
people
too
before the days.
He was slapping people. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, he smacked us all when he first met us. All right, I'll be right back. Oh, let everybody know where they can find your stuff though, since we're at the 2-hour mark. So, Frank, where can people pick up awesome comics?
Well, if you live near my area, you can check out my mailbox, or you can go on Etsy and look up Salazar Nation Comics, and you will find what I have there currently, and I'll be putting up more stuff soon as I just finish wrapping up this comic, which I think it's done. I just need to send it to the printer, so that might be up on Etsy in a couple of weeks. So, yeah.
Sweet. Gary, where can everybody check out?
On Instagram under Dinosaurs vs Marthbots, and on YouTube under my name, Gary Hodges.
Awesome. And then Scott Strickland, where can everybody find your stuff? And also, how can they subscribe to this cool Substack that you've got going?
I think I'm trying to. So you can find my stuff at circworks.com. As far as the Substack, I think the easiest way to do that is just to join. Just to go to my website, and if you want the you could probably find me at whatever the extension is for Substack and join that way. But if you want the Comic Maker Starter Kit, you need to go to my website because I'm
For
not
how
sure.
much, Scott? How much?
Oh,
would
that's
that
free.
cost?
That's free.
What?
So
Free.
just go to my website. Join. If you join through there, you get the Comic Maker Starter Kit, and then I'll.
And I've doubled my
put you on
money
the
since I
Substack.
started using it.
Oh, that's a good endorsement. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good endorsement.
I feel like did that break up? Is that really free? Free is the answer to that?
That
question?
is free.
Wow.
Yeah, it's free.
Wait,
The starter kit is free, but the pro kit.
So I would say
That costs
what we
Gary,
established tonight is that if you use Photoshop for typography, you're a fool, and if you don't jump on that offer, you're a fool.
Yeah.
Yes, and I feel like that would be much better said in your adapted voice from the New Jersey accent, Gary.
You have to. I'm not going to reveal my character's voice with.
I was looking for an exclusive there.
I know.
Alas.
I
He's
can't.
not
steal
Japanese,
his
is he,
thunder.
Gary?
He was good enough to cast me, and I'm hoping I appear in sequels. So I gotta stay in his good graces.
Love it. All right, so I'm excited about the progress here. What are you working on right now? Are you working on hair, Gary? Like,
Actually, I am still doing every other thing. So all that's left to do is hair. But there is one panel of him with what I think will be his final hairstyle that I just haven't. I'm letting it sit while I do other things to decide if I still like it. And then if I do, that's how I'll do it for all the other panels.
nice. I
But
like
I am
the.
really happy with his expression in that. Like this was, I'm proud of how this turned out. So
Was that the final? The final. The final countdown.
Yeah, because Gary said the
Excuse
final
me.
hairstyle. So
Nice.
yeah, that's my Weird Al cover of Final Countdown.
I like it.
final hairstyle.
I kind of wonder. I wonder, like, thinking about
If I'm part of your
hairstyles-
world, or is that
that's true.
something separate?
That's possible. I was thinking about hairstyles, and it's like there's like Mad Men to me. I felt like did that balance really well
Yeah,
with like being pretty accurate to like time periods, but also still managing to make people like, you know, still appealing
Like
to
them.
like a modern crowd.
well, they picked an era that I think is fairly like, I don't know, that it's that
Attractive.
nice spot where it's kind of timeless, and then also it's a look that's kind of coming back, you know. So it worked out. I think
Yeah.
you'd run into trouble like if you wanted to do a movie set in the 30s and all the men were wearing high-waisted pants, you know, like there are some things where it's just not going to work, you know.
Yeah.
And then you're going to face this dilemma of, do you modernize it so it's less historically accurate but more acceptable to a modern audience, or do you go down with the ship of, I want accuracy?
Do you Baz Luhrmann it, or do you historical accuracy?
There you go. That's yes. And I, with D versus M, prefer the historical accuracy. So, but I think I've got a hairstyle that, based on my reference images, a man in the 70s could have had. So
Yeah.
it'll be fine.
Scott, what about you? Like, because you're dealing with like kids in the 80s and stuff, like how much research did you do on like 80s stuff? I mean, obviously a lot of it's probably just in your head from having lived in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do, and the thing about it is you have to be really careful the research that you do, because if you search 80s styles, it's usually the most outlandish stuff that people wouldn't have worn.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, the average kid, you know, it's something a pop star would wear, or like, you know, the average kid wouldn't have dressed like that. So you have to be really careful when you're looking at, you know, stuff. The best place I find to look for hairstyles and stuff are like yearbooks and things like that.
Not
Yeah.
everyone
Yeah.
dressed like Madonna.
Right. And there might, I mean, there's one character that kind of dresses not full out, but you kind of had to take some of that from there.
Yeah.
The cone
So you know, because there are people that want to mimic certain celebrities and stuff and do that, but for the most part, you know, and you also like a lot of times when they recreate, like when you watch something like a Goldberg's or something like that, that you know the main character, he's like into every single thing that like certain things that would have had a cult following like later on, but may have not been so big that they didn't even make a lot of merchandise at the time. And he'll have those posters and stuff in his room when a lot of people didn't have that, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's more, you know, that's kind of a comedy and that's fine and everything. But yeah, you just kind of have to be careful. I try to, and also that I purposely set this in I never mention when the actual time period is.
Yeah.
So if I put like a Rubik's Cube, and Rubik's Cube maybe didn't become popular till 80 whatever, and if this takes place before, then well, he probably wouldn't have had that at that time or whatever. So I don't really mention the exact date. Plus, it could be considered an alternate timeline because there's zombies, and there weren't really zombie apocalypse in the 80s anyway. So, but you know, so some of that you can play fast and loose, and some of it I just, you know. As far as hairstyles, more like I figure sort of early 80s kind of with the more of the like bushy hairstyles and stuff before all like the more gel and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, that's before everybody did their hair like George Bush.
You said George Bush?
Yes. It was a bad joke. I apologize. It didn't need highlighting. Yeah. I was just thinking, you're like saying it before everybody had bushy hairstyles. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if like, if it's like there was just this point in like the 2000s or like in the 1990s.
I was trying to think, when did everyone have George Bush hair?
Yeah. They're just like, that is the hairstyle to have.
Everybody in my high school wanted to look like George Bush.
Yeah, exactly. Like people may not remember like how fashionably like important he was.
Yeah.
Like Madonna had a huge influence. Elvis had a huge influence, and then there was George Bush. And those are like the big fashion influences. I remember when I was like a young kind of snotty-nosed like early college student, I think I was kind of crap talking Elvis a little bit, which is a dumb thing. Don't crap talk Elvis. But I remember I had a teacher that was like, "What are you wearing right now?" And I was like, "Jeans." And he's like, "Why do you think you're wearing jeans, dude?" And I was like, "Oh, like, you know, I think it like popularized during the Depression because like, you know, you had more like labor, like, you know, who wore jeans, and then like that became." And he's like, "No, it's Elvis. That's why you're wearing jeans."
Is Elvis responsible for the popularity?
Yeah, I would think you were right when you said, you know.
I was a bit right because that's kind of why Elvis wore jeans.
Right.
But it's like what popularized the jeans was totally Elvis.
So there we go. Like, what popularized? Yeah.
Well, it's like the DeLorean. The reason it's popular because of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas it was like a big car. Yeah, it was like a big niche car at the time. And then they
real POS too. Like it was a terrible, terrible car.
Which is a beautiful car that I want to own. It's part of why I want a Cybertruck.
Because it looks vaguely like a
Chris Kawayua just jumped in and said full party tonight. I think we're just giving off party vibes, you guys. I think we are like that person. You know, when people walk into a room, they're like, "There's a party going on in here."
Yeah,
exactly. But yes, Chris, you're welcome to join
as
well.
All the ladies have been flocking to me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like flocks of seagulls.
Stash. Yeah.
So
hairstyle.
Nice. So Chris said, "I thought Forrest Gump created Elvis, or at least taught him how to dance."
That's right.
I was actually I need to rewatch that movie. But Chris, if you want to join, you're welcome. But I'm guessing you got a sleeping newborn. Well, not newborn anymore, but still, I'm guessing there's probably a daughter sleeping.
Was born 2 years ago, or she?
She.
She.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think it was 2 years. I think she's like a year.
Maybe a year.
Chris, correct me, man. Let me know.
I think
And
it's
also let us know her
under a
birthday
year?
and social security. No, I'm just kidding.
So yes, where we can find her comics.
Yes.
Yeah. What's her Instagram?
She's gonna be a year soon. Yeah. So I was right. I was
okay.
close. I was okay. I'm a decent friend. I kind of roughly remembered that.
Unlike me.
But yeah. Oh, he says he's busy prepping for WonderCon. Nice.
Oh,
That's cool.
That's cool.
Very cool. I'm a little
I've been
jealous.
hearing
I
that.
tried
Where
to get
is
in.
WonderCon?
WonderCon is in Anaheim. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was trying to get in and I couldn't get in. So I was too late.
It's curated?
It is one of those like first come first serve kind of table things, and it's run by Comic-Con.
Okay.
So usually you have to register like way before I did. And then here's the catch: it's extra backed up because the registration was mostly rolled over from the year prior, which was canceled. So a lot of the people who were approved for tables then were rolling over to the next year. So yeah.
I'm wondering about that for the Phoenix one that's coming up because I think they're pretty backed up as well, and I'm curious what that floor is going to look like.
Are you thinking of doing Phoenix, Gary?
No, I won't be exhibiting this summer, but I might attend because I know people who are going to be there exhibiting.
Okay. Because I'm just saying, this is throwing this out there.
Be there?
I will be there, but I will be at the Surprise Comics booth. I don't know if I'll be there the whole weekend, but I won't have my own booth.
Nice. I think when you're exhibiting there, you need to pop out from the corner and be like, surprise.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. Surprise, everyone! There's comics here.
I'm here all night, guys.
Tip your
Part of the
way.
view.
So I want to throw this out there though, like Gary, if you did want to do a booth and just don't want a full table, let me know. So because I am eager to do half tables.
Oh, are you thinking about doing Phoenix?
If I could split with someone, yeah, I totally would.
Oh, that'd be cool if you can make it out.
If I could, yeah, I mean, if I could split, it would be way more appealing.
Are you doing a timeshare booth? Like, we can go halves on this.
Kind of. I mean,
I swore
Gary,
to myself I would never do a timeshare with Frank ever again. So
yeah, Gary, if you really wanted to split a booth with me, we'd have to like sit down and have a 10-hour seminar about it.
We'll buy you lunch.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Free lunch.
Free lunch.
No obligation.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
No obligation, no pressure.
Have you ever sat through a timeshare meeting?
No.
Oh my gosh, neither have I.
I got too many comics to draw and too much Elden Ring to play. Who has time for that?
That's true. You're like, I could be battling trolls right now, sir.
That's right. That's my bar. Are you as interesting as battling a troll? No?
Yeah.
Don't have time.
That's true. And then, to be honest, like a lot of
No
internet
time to
experience
share.
is battling trolls. So
Yeah,
there's that. So like Elden Ring is a personification
it is.
of the reality that is the internet.
To be honest, I don't know if there are trolls in Elden Ring, but it's a good shorthand. You know, it's that kind of game. It's like Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, aren't they like they're giants?
Are they
right?
actually goblins?
Giants and dragons,
Like Troll
and
2?
weird like witch, demon, sorcerer thing. There's like a little bit of everything. There probably is a troll in there somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah, Chris said he registered 2 years ago, so that's how he got in WonderCon.
Wow.
And then I think
wow.
Chris tends to with conventions because he's. We need to have him on actually, Artcasters at some point to talk about it, but maybe after WonderCon, maybe you can do a wrap up, Chris, like a recap of it or something. But it's like Chris is like one of those guys who like is a very convention pro, and like he will re-up like as quickly as possible for like the next year's thing, which is I think the trick. But anyhow, Gary, if you wanted to just do like Artist Alley table or something, I will split one with you, and then the investment's less, you know.
Let me you know what? Let me see if there's even still tables available, but I would be down for that.
Okay, if you do, I'll make it happen.
Okay, all right.
Although, wait, when is it?
That's
It's
a good
in
question.
May sometime.
Oh, if it's in May, I could totally make that happen.
I'm gonna look right now. Phoenix Fan Fusion.
That would be totally awesome, dude. If you guys could do that.
May 27 through 29.
Yeah, so if it's not too late, and that's something you'd be into, I'd be down.
Let me look right now. Let's see here.
I'll come down and bug you guys on your turf. And then complain about the heat the whole time. I'll just be like, it's so hot. I can't do it.
It will
be
be.
We'll go
hot.
hiking together, Josh. and
Yeah.
we'll-
Yeah, I'm worried, man, after Gary's story. If Gary were like, let's go hiking, I'd be like,
Yeah.
Gary, do you want me to die? Is this...
Okay, artist alley tables are sold out.
Ah,
So-
darn it.
Are
Okay.
they really?
So
Yeah.
it's off the
Oh, really? Wow.
options.
According to their website.
So maybe next year.
Next year.
That'd be cool. Yeah, we should.
And next
try
year
it.
would be great because I will have 3 D versus M's to sell. So
Yeah, and I feel like to me, one of the things I liked about splitting, I know it's nerdy to split a table and stuff, but it's like I found it really nice because it takes the pressure off so you can just sell books, which to me
Yeah.
is my goal. Like I don't want to sell like a ton of other stuff. I just want to sell books.
yeah.
So like to me, I like that pressure being off so I can make table a lot easier. And then I can just focus on selling books.
No, it would be appealing because like I've been very lucky where I've never lost money on a con, but boy, it's been close.
Yeah.
At times. So like if I could share a table, it makes way more sense.
Yeah.
I was like Scott last year where I felt a little kind of burned out and disillusioned by the whole Comic-Con, at least the big Comic-Con experience. But
Yeah.
again, yeah, if I could change the math a little bit, it makes more sense. But
Yeah, and also it'd be a fun way to hang out and stuff too. But
totally.
I'm curious.
And I could show you how you're wrong about California having better Mexican food.
Oh, that's true. That is a good challenge. Although I
And-
By
feel
the way, Jim agrees with
I
us.
might have to go sometime and see if it's better Mexican or not because I
Yes, you
I
should-
live
and-
almost
well,
right
you should
next to
try
them.
to come at the same time. And
well, I was gonna say Frank might be the one person who could debate about Mexican food, in my opinion, because Frank is like,
Well, I would
like
think
where
Texas
you
I
live
don't know.
is.
He
is
could have
way
grown
more
up in
authentic.
Maine or something. I
No,
don't
no,
know.
no,
I
I'm
don't know
saying-
who Frank is. Like,
I'm just saying his location is close enough to Mexico where it's gonna have like way more authentic Mexican food. That's all I'm saying. Southern California,
You should try these
Perhaps.
Way
burritos.
perhaps.
these
Perhaps he only
burritos.
likes bologna and cheese sandwiches, though. We don't
That's
know.
true.
So like,
I
Then
do,
while
but
you're
not
here,
only.
we can go to the
It's just
best
cheaper.
fast food burger place, Shake Shack. And
Did you say
you'll be
fast
able
food
to-
murder place?
What's that?
Did you
Burger.
say fast food
burger.
murder
Fast
place?
food
They'll
burger.
kill you
No.
fastly.
Sorry,
The
I
murder's
actually
like
liked.
hiking
I
the-
liked.
not hiking Camelback Mountain.
Fast food murder.
I liked Gary's response to that. What's that? I didn't.
No,
say-
no murder. No,
Fast
I
food
didn't say
murder. No,
You
not
said
at all.
No. That's
Yeah,
my
that'd be
next
fun,
comic.
man. That'd be cool. I'd love to. I still want to. I would try to. It's in Phoenix, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I would want to also try to visit the Fender facility again, as a in a non-commercial sense. Like it'd
There
be
you
fun
go.
to just go there and be a tourist there. So
Oh, the guitars?
yeah, they have like a big Fender building there. That's like I think allows tours and stuff. So that's something I
Cool.
need to.
Is that connected to Freddie Fender? Or
It's Leo Fender. It's the guitars. Who's Freddie Fender?
He's a singer.
he's a Tejano music star. Not
Oh, crazy.
here, but like some areas here in Texas. His hometown is here. He's
I
actually
wonder-
on the water tower. So that's why I was like, oh, is he that well known? Because I thought it was just like more or less localized to South Texas.
No, I remember him being on like he would do like Feliz Navidad on a lot of Christmas albums. Christmas
Yeah.
versions.
Did he do the Feliz Navidad song or just cover it?
I think he might have the most popular version.
Okay, then I
I
do
think.
know. Okay,
I could be
'cause
wrong.
I love that song.
Yes, I love his work.
How can you not? But also I
I do. It's
wonder
like one song.
If maybe that's like a nom de plume, like the name is like maybe based on, because if you're in music and you're kind of throwing in Fender into your name, I'm curious if that's like his name or if that's like maybe influenced by the guitar, you know.
Oh,
But
maybe.
I guess Leo
I never
Fender
thought about it.
had that last name. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean,
if
guess
I become a basketball star, I'll be Frank Spalding.
that's true. That's a good basketball. Actually, that's a good hip hop name too. You should call yourself Spalding Frank. I like that.
Spalding, more like
Gary,
Balding.
when you have your future hip hop career, what
Yeah.
will be your MC name?
Boy, I feel like I should think about that more. I mean, that's a very important decision.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to commit to on the spot. I don't know. I have a feeling, Scott, you are and were a huge hip hop head.
Hodges.
So I'm guessing you have one. Do you have an MC name, Scott?
I do. I did.
You do. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, what was your MC name?
It was Psych Rock.
Psych Rock is a good one. That's like ad rock, but psych. I like it.
It's like pop rocks, but psych.
So was it psych as in like psyching someone out?
Gotcha.
Or psych
It was
as in
okay.
psychic?
So in elementary school, I was kind of
Psych.
a spaz. I was kind of a spaz. So they would call me Psycho. So I just kind of took that and then I abbreviated it in an odd way. So it was actually apostrophe SYC apostrophe rock.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Could you freestyle at all?
No.
I feel like we've had this conversation, but maybe
No,
not.
I couldn't.
Okay.
I will not.
Yeah, I have never been able to.
I'll do it in my car, and I'm
Yeah.
just if there's a beat on, I'll just do it. But it's just it's nonsense and stupid. But I'll do it.
I like that though. I like that you'll do it and that you own that you did it. That's cool. Because like honestly, it is fascinating. I've always been interested in like the idea of like trying to learn different like rhyming schemes and stuff, but like when would I have the time, you know?
Yeah, I'm hoping though. I mean, I would write lyrics and stuff like that. And I'm hoping like after I finish Young and the Dead, my next comic has sort of a hip hop theme, and I'm toying with the idea of telling it maybe in rhyme, like the whole thing, and it'll give me a chance to see if I can pull it off. See how
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be the hip hop thing you've talked about?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it because that's gonna have mechs and stuff in it too.
Yep.
Oh, that sounds
It's basic.
awesome.
Yeah, it's basically an alternate dimension where, it's years after kaiju's destroyed this city, and then all the destroyed areas kind of become ghettos, and when they fought back the kaijus in the 50s or whatever. Since then, all that technology has been outlawed. So the only people that have it are like they're taking all this technology and building and doing these underground rap battles where they'll hook up these giant speakers to these mechs, and it's just it's for show, and just like who's got the biggest mech. And it's all underground. It's all it's in these like areas that are kind of sectioned off from the rest of the world and it's all totally illegal, but then the kaiju's back and they're the only ones that have the technology. So that's kind of the concept behind it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a common thread with cartoonists, but I think like most cartoonists I meet are either like into hip hop or we're into punk rock. Like, I don't know, I maybe not all, but I feel like that's a pretty common thread with like cartoonists for some reason.
I feel like the only punk I'm into is Nickelback.
Yeah, that's true. That's the most punk you can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. That and like Creed, I think. Like if we're
Yeah.
talking just like really hardcore, deep cut punk rock, like the
Creed's
real stuff.
it's almost like too intense for me. I don't think I can.
A little too violent. I think
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
like the sounds.
I have a friend who was in a Creed mosh pit, and he eats through a straw now. It's bad.
I think NSYNC is the best punk band.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, like that's a little more hardcore than what I can handle.
Those NSYNC raves. Killer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's true. Those guys look tough too. I'm just saying.
They do.
Like you don't want to mess with them. I love the idea though. Was Scott, did you find like when we talked to Yehudi, was that like pretty inspiring?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's. I still haven't ordered any of his books, and I need to because they all spoke to me so much when he was on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make a note of that again because I have to. Like every single book he put out was like, oh man, I'm totally into that. And they all had different themes, but they all connected to me. So
yeah, just seafood just sounded like so up your alley. Like when I don't know. Or sci-fu. I might be saying that wrong. I think if you
seafood.
Yeah. Okay.
I think. I don't know. Okay. I've been as productive as I can be today. I can tell like I'm getting tired enough where like I'm just doing work that I'll have to undo tomorrow. So I'm calling it a night.
All right.
Thanks for having me on. It's
thank
good to
you.
see all you guys. It's been a while. And I'll catch you next time.
Yes. Thank you, Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
Are you available Thursday if we end up doing Artcasters?
Oh, I think so. Let me look.
I haven't heard back from the person that was supposed to show up, so we were thinking maybe doing sort of like a recap and just talking about we still have you on. I was thinking of doing a recap, or basically just an episode on meeting in person. But I mean, since we've done that, the drink and draw, and then and I want to do more of that stuff. Anyway. I don't know.
No, I would. I don't have anything going on, so we'll figure. If you need me, yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, just let me know.
Also, Gary, before you go, one last time, let everybody know where to follow you and support your stuff. And also, I will tell you guys, you want to listen carefully and follow because he's going to be releasing Dinosaurs vs. Mars Bots in print again. And those things sell out real quick. So if you want to get a hold of it, you need to be following
now so you know when they're buyable. So you can follow me right here. I'm not pointing at my lap. This isn't a teenage joke. I'm saying right here, like on Instagram, at Dinosaurs vs. Marsbot. Frank enjoyed that. And then you can find me on YouTube. Just enter my name, Gary Hodges. And you'll know it's me because the profile picture is a cartoon tyrannosaur gobbling up a little gray alien. So
I absolutely adore it.
I'm going to change my profile picture to that.
Yeah, to confuse people. Change your name too. Yeah.
It's true. There'll be an alt account that's like Hodges Gary. And it's
Hodges Gary.
Harry Hodges.
A really
damn you, Hodges.
drawn dinosaur eating an alien. Just to capture the throngs and throngs of D versus M fans, the millions of fans that are out there, just try to peel them off.
You kind of have to like swat them away at certain points, right? I mean,
what's that?
When the fans just get that excessive, it's like you kind of have to like swat them away like flies. Like it's just it's insane how.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Okay, so Gary, thank you again. Actually, your timing is pretty good because I'm done with my second panel and I need to crash too. So I will probably be calling it as well. Before I call it, why doesn't everybody let people know where to find them? So you guys know where to follow Gary. Go do that. Again, like he's making some pretty brilliant work. You guys should check it out. I don't know. Scott always describes it better than I can, but it's like if you think about a crazy premise like Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, and then you take it absolutely seriously and have these sincere, dialogue-driven, tense, like X-Files, but like the best of
X-Files
X-Files.
meets Pulp Fiction is how I
There
would
you go.
describe it.
Yeah, that's
They're
perfect.
very. It's like sci-fi horror, but also like heavy character drama. So,
Yes.
yeah, there you go.
So make
Anthology
sure
series, so you can read any of them in any order. Doesn't matter.
Okay, so
Okay.
what's that?
See you later,
Frank,
guys.
yes, have a good one, Gary. Frank, where can everybody find your stuff and get your comics?
Well, you can find me on Salazar Art Nation on YouTube and Instagram. And if you go to either one of those places, there is a link where you can go to my stores. I have the Etsy store, Salazar Nation Comics. Right now, I only have the 3 comic bundle of Captain Gagos and Masked Woman, but I will be updating, adding more stuff up there. The Resistance comic and issue 3 plugging out. Those will be up there soon. And if you just want to read the digital comics, you can go to my Gumroad and you can buy them there and read them. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh, real quick question before we tell people where to find your stuff, Scott. How would you feel about getting a bunch of cartoonists together to recreate the Little Mermaid soundtrack?
Sure, I'm game.
Okay, because I think that would be a really funny live stream, but we'd have to orchestrate it, and I feel like we could pull it off. I think we could get through the whole soundtrack.
Are we gonna each be assigned to a certain song, or we can team up on some songs? Or
I feel like it might work as just like grouped in numbers, where because like people are a lot more confident if they're singing with like 4 other people.
yeah.
Might just be a challenge of like we're all going to get through this album together. Anyhow, so that's a tease. And if you guys are curious about that or other things, Scott, where can everybody find your stuff and all that?
Yeah, you can find my stuff at circworks.com, where you'll find my comic book Young and the Dead, and you will find that comic maker starter kit. You'll be able to join my Substack, and apparently it's a big hit. Everyone seems to like it. So
Awesome.
So don't just subscribe and get the free thing and then unsubscribe, because you'll miss out on all that cool inspiration and art and all that stuff.
I concur. It's worth being subscribed. And while you're at it, support Scott on Patreon.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That'll do it for me. I'm just gonna say to make sure you bought 2 stories. My graphic novel about faith and mental illness. You can buy that today. If you order it on Amazon, you'll probably get it like tomorrow. I mean, it ships really fast. If you have Prime, it's free and it's pretty low cost, and I think it's an enjoyable read. Although it is heavy subject matter, so don't buy it for like your young 11-year-old kid or something. Like it's definitely like 16 or older kind of material because it deals with heavy mental health issues. And then also, same age range, Jacob's Apartment. This is a doomed romance story in the vein of Ghost World and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, talking about the kinds of questions that can shake even the strongest of faith. So make sure you go pre-order that on graphicmundi.org's website. And
so don't get it for that girl you have a crush on.
Get it for that girl you have a crush on. It's very romantic. All right. So, but yeah, 2 stories don't, because that might not be a good date. All right, guys. With that being said, I appreciate all of you who tuned in and checked it out. Chris, it's fun to see you in the chats. Adam, everybody. So thank you. And also, Chris in the chat said, "Dinos and Mars bots forever." I agree. And Frank, also thank you very much for the comic. It was awesome. And if you guys want to see a sneak preview of Frank's comic that he sent to Scott and myself, and it's kind of dedicated to the Artcasters, backtrack a little bit. Also, make sure you're subscribed. You've hit that bell. That way you'll get notifications when I'm about to go live on these live streams. And topics on these live streams vary from like crazy debates to like just art hangouts to sometimes talking about kayaking bears. So you want to make sure you're subscribed. All right. That'll do it. I'll see you guys on the next live stream. Thanks again, guys, for hopping on with me. And see you next time.
See you then.
All right.